This is Coda Radio, episode 191 for February 8th, 2016. Welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us every week, trapped up in his Tower of Power, why yes, folks, it's Mr. Michael Dominic. Well, hello there, Michael.
So, it is a tower, but it's very makeshift. I'm not sure I would say of power.
Okay, so a tower of temporary stature.
Yeah, it's, my L desk here, I just created out of two desks, two regular class desks that I got from consignment.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's okay. My tower is built out of IKEA furniture, so it's not much better off. This is boy, Mr. Dominic. Speaking of being in shaky towers, if you hear a sound that sounds like me falling over and my head smacking the microphone, just go on. Just proceed. So I, as a small business owner, you sometimes are sort of the most important person in the chain, and you don't want to be the weakest link either, because it's all riding on you. And so today is one of those days I shouldn't be at work. I should not be here.
Take the day off.
So I had some problems sleeping Friday night, and I didn't get any sleep. And Saturday night, I tried a new sleeping arrangement with the kids to see if it would fix things, and I didn't get any sleep. And then so last night, after the Linux Action Show, I went and did all my errands, did my grocery shopping, and did laundry, and we had to do another thing of grocery shopping because I forgot something. And I'm like, okay, but now, about 8 o'clock, I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to get the best night's sleep this week. And about 9 o'clock, I started coming down with weaponized Panda Express food poisoning. Like, full-on, probably the top worst food poisoning I've had.
Was it actually Panda Express?
Yeah, I think it was. It was either that or a sample from Costco, but the sample I got at Costco was a Zip Fizz water bottle. So I doubt it was that. And the only other thing I had that day was Panda Express. And the worst part is, I got the Panda Express primarily to troll Noah on LAS. So I tell you what, I got a little bit of sleep between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. So I got a little bit of sleep in, but it has... You ever been in that position where, like, if you could call in sick to your own job, to your own business, you would? Like, just, I would not be here.
I'm perpetually in that position.
Yeah, you know who else is in that position is, I think, perhaps one of the GitHub co-founders. Have you heard about this story?
I have indeed.
I'm really glad you grabbed this because a couple of... it's funny how these things happen. So I saw a Hacker News thread prop up 2 weeks ago. And it said, what would you do if GitHub went away tomorrow? And I went, I suppose, immediately my first thought is, well, probably everybody has a local copy on their machine. But then my second thought was, no, this would actually screw up a lot of things because so much of the cloud is built around Git push and pull. You look at, a lot of Linux distributions out there, a lot of automated building testing systems, just assume GitHub is a thing. So when I saw this thread, I asked on Linux Unplugged, I said, hey guys, what would you do tomorrow if GitHub went away? And I got a bunch of different answers. Nobody seemed to be too freaked out about it, but I'm curious, especially as somebody who's even written an app around GitHub in the past, what would you do tomorrow, literally? Like actually conceptualize this. If we got on... we woke up tomorrow morning and you and I start tweeting each other, holy shit, GitHub just went away. Like, how would that impact you?
It really wouldn't. I mean, I suppose it would. There's some legacy stuff on GitHub that might have to be... I think it's all backed up, to be totally honest.
And you're not using, issue tracking up there and stuff like that.
No, well, I'm not even using their source control anymore. I'm using Bitbucket.
Right.
And... way back when I was using GitLab, right? So I haven't used GitHub, so to speak, for a long time. I mean, there's some open source stuff. There's the advantage of being able to be like, hey, here's the work we can do. But honestly, you could do that on Bitbucket.
So what do you suppose makes them a $2 billion startup? Because when I ask this question, everybody's like, well, I can still use Git. I can go set up my own GitLab. I
think it's like almost the network effect of it, right? It's that they have so many developers on there that they're just untouchable.
Right.
It's weird, right?
There are people that ask, it becomes part of the hiring process. There's people who reference their GitHub work, right?
Yeah, basically, and it has to be like, send us a GitHub link.
So the scuttlebutt that's been brewing now for a few days is that GitHub is undergoing a full-blown overhaul as execs and employees are departing. And Business Insider says they have the full inside story. So $2 billion is what GitHub is evaluated at. I think you could probably argue they're pretty important to a lot of popular sites. And Business Insider is currently hearing these themes over and over again. Co-founder, CEO Chris Wansrath, with support from the board, is radically changing the company's culture. Out with the flat organizational structure based purely on meritocracy, and in with the supervisors and middle managers. This has ticked off many people in the old guard. So I want a full stop right there. Culture changes, right? They really can. They can gut a company. It sounds like a silly thing, but culture changes really can gut a company and can cause some serious talent loss.
Yeah, that's we call that a bad thing, Chris.
Yeah. So he says, it goes on to say, its once famous remote employee culture has been rolled back. Senior managers are no longer allowed to live afar and must report to the office. This was one reason why some senior execs departed or were asked to leave, one person close to the company told Business Insider.
Ugh.
So then, one more. Oh, we got a couple more, sorry. Others tell us key technical people from the old days, like CTO Ted Newman, maybe, and the third co-founder, PJ Hyatt, are mostly absent from the office and not contributing much technically. GitHub has hit hyper growth, growing from 300 to nearly 500 employees in less than a year. Oh my God. With over 70 people joining in the last quarter alone. Oh my gosh. Some longer-term employees feel like there's a culture of fear where people who don't support all the changes are being ousted, probably due to some of the layoffs. In addition to previously reported executive departures, Business Insider has also learned that Ryan Day, the VP of Business Development, Adam Zimmerman, Senior Director of Technology Partnerships, and Scott Buxton, the Controller, have all left in the last 6 months, and Buxton's departure was immediate. A GitHub spokesperson has declined to comment on this. They say, we're trying to build a new kind of enterprise company where the playbooks of old won't always work. And that was it. So you have, this is my layman's estimation of what happens. But you have hyper growth, you get hyper funding, you get VC funding in there, and they want results for their investment. That money doesn't come without strings. Sure. I think a lot of us know that. So what does that mean, though, when we say these things? Oh, that money doesn't come without strings. It's not a free lunch. That VC funding has costs. I think this is the cost. I think what you see happening here is, in order to develop a sustainable business that could generate revenue for a long time and not just make that money back for the investors, but make them even richer, you're going to have to target the enterprise. You're going to have to target businesses. You're going to have to build a company that improves business workflow and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree that the enterprise is important, but I would say, it's funny thinking about GitHub as a startup, right? Even though they're wildly,
worth $2 billion, have been around. I should look, but I think for eight years. I'm not sure. 2009 maybe. I have to look, but they've been around for a while. When do you cut off the whole startup theme? It seems like it's like they've exceeded that. I'm looking right now to see if I can find out when they were established as a company. GitHub looks like, according to the Book of Knowledge over at Wikipedia, February 8th, 2008, 8 years ago. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not a startup.
Not really.
That's a company that's failed to develop a reliable business revenue model. That's what that is. I mean, not to be mean, but it's not a startup. I really do think, Mr. Dominic, I think this is, if you're going to go enterprise, if you're going to go focus on business, you can't just say it. You have to structure your company in a way that makes it accommodating for those types of clients. And that's what I think what's happening, don't you?
I do. I also think, I always found GitHub a little weird because for the type of projects I end up doing, the types of businesses I end up in, it's actually incredibly expensive.
Chat room points out today's GitHub's birthday. Today is February 8th.
Happy birthday.
Amazing that this story's coming out on their birthday.
Well, yeah, it came out a couple days ago.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Okay, yeah.
It's just odd that they're this huge company and they're so expensive for like high repo, let's say low revenue type things or personal projects or whatever, but they can't seem. I got the impression that they were having a hard time with the enterprise sales, right? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I mean, no one knows what their numbers are, but
I think it's sort of a tough proposition. And that's a lot of intellectual property.
This is where I don't understand. Why is this a tough proposition? I mean, enterprises buy stuff all the time. GitHub.
No, hold on. Yeah, I lost you. Come back.
GitHub is a quality product.
Yeah.
So why would it be a tough sell, in your opinion?
Well, I guess it depends on how it's implemented. Is it in this version that you're talking about? Do you foresee this being on premises, or do you see this being a hosted solution?
No, it is on prem. So I used to have to support them at CodeJournal. It's like your own little GitHub in a box kind of thing.
So it's like GitLab, but you buy it from them, and it's got probably service and
basically.
Well, yeah, that does seem like a viable solution to me. That seems like a pretty anything that you can do. Because here's why I think it's a good viable solution. It's gonna help with workflows in software development inside a business, and you have a lot of talent that's now coming in that just knows the system inside and out. Right. People know Git. People are familiar with all of this. And so it is a huge benefit to a business to be able to have that workflow internally. Not only that, but it's attractive to potential employees too. To be able to just take your expert workflow and apply it to your new job. And as you and I have talked about, one of the most expensive and risky things you do in a business is hire people. And so if you can hire somebody that's walking through the door with a knowledge that, will help them sit down and get the job done a little faster, that's extremely valuable. So I think they will do it.
So is the question more, and this is kind of what the article gets to, it's a culture clash, right?
Mm-hmm, that seems to be their implication, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's just a tough.
Because you had a flat organization before without a lot of middle management, and people could go right up, and now it's an overhaul. The company has been reportedly cash flow positive since its earliest days and expected to bring in more than $25 million this quarter. So they are making money, which puts it back on track to $100 million in annual revenue. Okay, that's good to know. Current CEO became CEO in 2014 after GitHub was embroiled in a sexual harassment scandal by a female employee who quit. GitHub's own internal investigation determined that no sexual harassment took place, but said there were other leadership issues going on. Yeah, I bet. About a year ago, they also phased out the company's old structure where no one had any managers. So this has been going on for a while. Right. Complete with middle managers. God, how nice would that be? Wow, I would hate that too. If you got to work at a place where there was no middle management, and then all of a sudden,
it seems a little magical though, right?
No, Valve pulls it off, but yeah, I agree. Especially if you want businesses to take you seriously. That seems to be the big thing. So does it give you any pause or any other thoughts?
It's a tough challenge because they have to decide who they want to be, right? And that's always going to be hard. No matter who you are, figuring out what market you want to target, where you want to go is hard, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have a valuation like that.
Well, now I guess we just get to sit back and see what happens, and we all have a front row seat.
Just watch it go.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder to just think of these things as you become more dependent on services. Think, what would happen if they went away tomorrow? So, all right, Mr. Dominic. Well, we have something else to jump into. You got some great links this week. You really did some scouting.
I was doing the scavenging.
Yeah, some scavenging, like a hunter-gatherer only for podcasting and way less dangerous. Let me tell you something else you can hunter-gather. That's an education over at Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com/coders. Visiting there, going there, it supports the show. It lets them know you heard about it here and you appreciate them keeping us on the air. It's how this works, and you can go there to get a discount on the Linux Academy subscription. Linux Academy is a platform for learning all of the technology stack around Linux. 2,300 self-paced courses. I swear it goes up constantly. 2,300 videos where you can obtain experience you need to learn and practice on lab servers provided by the Linux Academy. 7+ distros you get to choose from. They have scenario-based labs. You work in their advanced lab environment, completing task scenarios beginning to end. Instructor help is available, which is a really big deal in this kind of topic material. And graded server exercises. Automatically, your server exercises get graded while you're committing the actions, so you can see how well you did. This is such a great way when you have a little bit of test anxiety. If you want to get into Android development or Python or Ruby or PHP even, don't tell Mike, but they got courses on it. Amazon Web Services? Yes, absolutely. And that is a particularly tricky proposition, so it's a great way to go learn first before you go work on it. In-depth resources, really good stuff, downloadable comprehensive PDF guides, things you can listen to while you're in the shower. People do that. I guess they have shower thoughts. A community that's stacked full of Jupiter Broadcasting members who are constantly helping push each other. Detailed notes, the practice exams, enhanced learning platforms. This is a really good one if you're busy. It's just as simple as putting in your daily availability, how much study time you have, and their special algorithm creates a detailed learning plan with reminders and daily assignments, labs, and quizzes that are due. It also creates an expected completion date that helps you schedule, which actually is really nice. It really helps me wrap my head around that stuff, seeing it like that. Go to linuxacademy.com/coders. Go learn more about them and support this show. It's a great opportunity to invest in yourself. linuxacademy.com/coders. And a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. It is a great service. So we have our next story that has been sleuthed by our scavenger, Mr. Dominic. Is this a presentation from London? Tell me about Project Rider, the C# IDE.
Yes, Project Rider. That is the good folks at JetBrains. Our
really?
favorite people who need to start sending us money, though.
Yeah, we talk about them a lot now.
Yeah,
so what is JetBrains? Oh, yeah, of course, blog.jetbrains.com. Boy, I am sick. I am slow on the uptake today.
You're a little special today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here fiddling with ISOs, so that's
Oh,
nice.
yeah, we didn't even mention that Mike was doing a live Ubuntu install during the show. How is that going?
Don't tell them.
Oh, it's not going well?
I forgot to get a DVD.
You got to do thumb drives. It's all about the thumb drives now.
Yeah, I'm trying. So Project Rider is JetBrains' C# cross-platform IDE. Just let that sink in. Just waft it. Chris, are you wafting?
Yeah, so I've got a bouquet of concept here, I think.
I love that.
So this was a live event, 11 through 15. Are they announcing this there? Is this something I should know about already? Tell me about Project Rider, the C# cross-development IDE. That's pretty cool.
You know, it's kind of magical. And it's disappointing that you can't try it out yet. But supposedly, and I have no reason not to believe this, because, I mean, I literally use RubyMine. I use, in fact, I'm starting to use WebStorm because, IntelliSense is a magical thing.
Yeah, so this is built on the IntelliJ platform.
Right. So if you're familiar with any of those IDEs, IntelliJ, Android Studio, any of those kind of guys, by the way, Android Studio 2 just went into beta. Go check it out.
Ooh.
You will presumably be at home in Project Rider. They showed some screenshots. They showed some videos. All the same great refactoring tools you're used to. Really, I'm hopeful. I'm a little skeptical, like how, is there a demand for this would be my right? Who's writing C# that's not Xamarin and that isn't that wants to really do a cross-platform?
Don't you think that they're maybe skating to where the puck's going to be at? Because now that Microsoft has just dropped all that code for C# at open source, seems like there's got to be people that are going to be picking this up for internal projects and all kinds of stuff now. This might be really good timing, actually. The thing about Microsoft open sourcing it is sort of an implicit call out for tools that are separated out from their platform to work with it. And this is sort of answering that implicit call. Well, this is really cool. It looks pretty good, too. The UI is not bad. It looks very familiar, I guess is the way to put it. We have a link to the full video in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. How's the install going, Mr. Dominic?
It is going. We are trying to create a bootable disk on Windows 10, which is shockingly hard.
Yeah, I think Microsoft actually puts out an ISO to there is somebody out there. I wonder if there's also the SUSE image writer. I wonder if they make that available for Windows.
I'm using something called Rufus, but it's going a little too fast for me to actually believe that it's working.
Oh yeah, Rufus. Yeah, I'm familiar with Rufus. Here, I'm gonna put a link. I'll put a link in the IRC. This is OpenSUSE project makes an image writer that's meant, and essentially it'll check the ISO, and if the ISO looks good, it'll just give you a button to click burn, and it's always worked really well for me under Windows. At least I think they make it under Windows.
Back in the old DVD drive days, this was a ton easier.
They say it's not. They say it's not maintained anymore. Well, what do you know?
It slowed down to a crawl, so maybe this is actually working.
Oh, isn't that funny how that makes you feel? That's like back in the day. That's why I liked hearing my drive access when I was writing to a floppy and when I was accessing my hard drive. So I actually knew my computer was working. I wish I could just have those same sound effects, but with SSD speeds.
Well, the only thing that I'm not particularly comfortable with is it suggested that FAT32 be the format. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
I don't know. That might work though.
That might actually work because is that neutral enough that?
Yeah, it depends on the boot CD.
I know how to do this on Mac from the command line.
Yeah.
But of course, I put the USB in for some reason. I can't even see it in disk utility or on command line. I wonder if that's thanks to
handy. That's super handy.
Yeah. So we're trying it on Windows.
So Imacon linked you to Win32 Disk Imager.
Awesome.
Which looks like it's basically DD for Windows, which will probably get you going. It's probably
the way to go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it may take longer than the show to get this baby done. Oh, wait. Okay. See, we're going at a very sporadic pace here. It's a little scary.
So they're calling it Project Rider. The IDE includes a lot of functionality that you're already familiar with from ReSharper, IntelliJ-based IDEs such as quick fixes, inspections, and smart navigation. And while ReSharper is hosted inside Visual Studio, Project Rider is a full standalone IDE. What does that mean?
It's its own IDE, right? So
it can be hosted inside Visual Studio or ran standalone.
Well, they have they have a product called ReSharper.
ReSharper, right?
That is an add-on to Visual Studio.
I was getting that mixed up with Rider because my brain's mush.
That's fine.
Yeah, so that's pretty. They say it's early, but they already have a bunch of features available. So they're really making some good progress on this. Man, look at them cranking.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in this only because I recently at gunpoint was forced to do some Xamarin development again, and. Yeah.
Multiple runtime support. Project Rider supports the .NET framework and Mono. It includes templates for creating new projects, and when you create an empty project, it is really, truly empty.
So my question, and in fact, a listener to the show, Anthony, sent us this several times on Twitter. He's very excited. Why do you want this? I mean, is it because you want to do ASP from Linux or Mac? Or, I mean, are you doing Xamarin? I'm trying to understand, because if I'm a .NET developer, I just want Visual Studio? Aren't I happy? I mean, isn't it good enough for you, Chris?
Well, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Is I think it's moving beyond Visual Studio.
This is not going to try to so you're saying this is not for the guys who've been working in VS for 20 years?
No.
Okay.
No, I think this is for a new audience that knows JetBrains. This is a new audience that is now working with something that's been committed to open source. We talk about this all the time. The most common use case for something like this is going to be the thousands and thousands and thousands of men and women who get hired inside a business to write internal applications to support business functions.
Right, the dark matter developers.
Yeah, and for them, they might not be a .NET shop. Maybe they're a Linux shop. Maybe they're a Mac shop. Maybe they're a mix, right? And so maybe they have Linux servers and, who knows? But I could definitely see this appealing to a whole new category of future .NET developers. Plus, maybe you don't want all the crap of Visual Studio. It's a massive install. Some people just get weird about that kind of thing. Not like we used to, but that used to be a really big deal when you're installing software that took up 10 gigs of space. Oh my gosh.
All right, so my next question is going to be, you're a .NET developer. Let's just say you're writing MVC5 applications, right? Are you now hosting them on Linux? No.
Why not?
Really?
Well,
because it just seems like you're swimming upstream, right? Every step of the way, you've taken a harder path.
Yeah, that's true.
Than you could have, done.
Yeah, maybe JetBrains will change that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be a critic at all. If C# is a great language, if this makes sense and this is something that's viable, awesome. Certainly, I would rather work in a JetBrains IDE than Visual Studio because I've been working in JetBrains IDE for a very, very long time, starting with versions of IntelliJ from years ago.
There you go.
So I'd be really happy, but I guess I just wonder, if we're not targeting current Microsoft developers and we're saying that, they're just happy in their own Visual Studio world, everything's kind of packaged to them the way it comes, then is there a critical mass of people from outside that community who also want to use heavy IDEs? Because let's be honest, the JetBrains IDEs are not you're not coding in Vim here, right? This is a pretty serious IDE.
Yeah.
Your RAM usage goes right up, right? How much overlap, or I guess how big is that group of people, right? People who don't want to run Windows necessarily, are interested in running a heavy IDE, and are interested in .NET development.
Yeah, like Dark Matter Dev in the chat room says, if I'm writing C# for a company, chances are they're a Windows shop across the full stack. I agree with that
That's
too.
what my thing is. I've never had someone call and say, Mike, we want to get something done. We're a .NET shop, and of course we're running this on Debian.
Could it be 5 years down the road, though?
It's a hell of a gamble. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I think maybe their market's more like people like you or Micah in the chat room. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if anybody was going to do it, though, they're a good company to do it.
Yeah, I feel like if anyone can pull this off, it's them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're planning on some deep ties into Xamarin, and then it makes a ton of sense, right? Because Xamarin Studio is not exactly awesome, at least compared to like AppCode and Android Studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I could totally see, doing Xamarin development. Yeah, I would definitely buy whatever they're going to call Project Rider, and I would definitely want to be using that.
Huh. So people have been pretty excited online about this in our audience.
Yeah, they really have. They've been like...
So I'd like to know, I mean, what do you guys think? Coderradio.reddit.com. There'll be a feedback thread in there for 191. And you can let us know, or go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact, or, join us live. jblive.tv. We do a show on Mondays, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern.
So
good find, Mr. Dominic. All right. Let me tell you about something else that's a great find. Friends over at DigitalOcean. This really is a great find. I set up a couple of DigitalOcean droplets over the weekend, actually a couple of days before the weekend, to try out a couple of Slack alternatives, Mattermost and Rocket Chat.
I heard that just now.
Yeah, really cool, really cool. And one of the things that doesn't get mentioned enough, but is super, super nice, is you can deploy an entire stack of an image that has like Ubuntu 14.04, Nginx, Docker, and there was something else I had already set up in there that I needed. I'm forgetting right now because my brain is numb. But I tell you what, Mike, being able to just do that's obvious when you're setting it up. But the other thing that is really, really nice about having an image of a just all standard open source software pre-configured in a sensible manner that you just deploy and then finish up a few things and you're ready to go. It's all current. It's really fast. But the other thing is, you can revert back to that base image without losing all of your other settings, like your DNS and any of your backup settings and things like that. So it's a really straightforward way when you're like, oh man, this project went south, and honestly, it just would be a lot quicker just to reload it. Well, now when I reload it with Ubuntu and Nginx and Docker all just ready to go. I don't have to do anything. Saves me 15, 20 minutes per machine. And it is really nice because it's like a zero cost up. Let's go back and start with a fresh install and validate this. I love that functionality. So for less than $5 a month, and if you use our promo code CODERDIGITAL, you get a $10 credit. You can get started with a rig with 512 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte SSD, a blazing fast CPU, and a terabyte of transfer. I went fancy. I went with their two $40 a month rigs. They're just incredible machines, like with 4 terabytes of RAM. It's just nuts. I mean, I can't even, actually, you know what? You can check. You go to their pricing page. It's really straightforward. 4 gigs of RAM, 2 core processor, 60 gigabyte SSD, and 4 terabytes of transfer. It's just amazing.
They do rock.
They do. And they have a great interface on top of it with a straightforward API. Use our promo code CODERDIGITAL and go deploy your own rig for testing or production. That's why I went with the $40 one, because it works out to be 6 cents an hour. So if I only used it for a couple of hours, big whoop. And if I decided to keep it, well, then it's production ready. It's powerful enough. So that's really nice. Coder Digital. Big thanks to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. We have a breakup letter with the internet here, coming from Parse. This is kind of sad.
Oh, yes, it's very sad for some of us.
Yeah, particularly for you.
Yes, Backpoints is written on Parse. Yep.
Jeez Louise. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So that's Mike's app that he released a couple months ago, I think it was, or something?
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Launches, and then, oh, by the way... Yes,
we have a difficult announcement to make. We understand this won't be easy transition, and we're working hard to make this process as easy as possible. Oh, well, good news there, Mike. So
thanks, guys.
They're releasing a database migration tool that allow you to move Parse app to any MongoDB database. Yeah. This happens. Did you see it coming?
No, not at all, actually. Nope. Did not see it coming.
I feel like there's a lesson in here.
Yeah, so, I've been burned by this before, back in the day with CodeJournal and, like, GitHub changing things or going down and getting the, let's just say, waves of hate mail.
Right, it's all your fault.
It's all your fault. This $4.99 app is terrible because GitHub went down. Parse, however, I have to give them credit for it, did a really good job. So they've actually open sourced the Parse toolkit.
Yeah, okay.
And the Parse platform. You can run Parse on your own DigitalOcean server.
Well, they're releasing the Parse server. That's nice.
Yes. I mean, you have to change your endpoint and presumably do a little bit of, tweaking.
And tweaking, yeah.
You can also export everything to a MongoDB database and kind of transition to more of your own solution that way.
All right, this is at least something.
Right, and you have a year to do it. So it's not awful.
Wow, okay. Now it's getting to one of the smoother shutdowns I've seen.
Right. So realistically, you'll have one late night of downtime, right? And you'll hopefully switch right over. The complication will be, of course, is if your app is a native iOS app and you have to go through Apple Review. Or getting people to update the version of the app is also a concern.
Yeah.
Since you have to hard code the endpoint to the URL.
Yeah. So that's going to be a little bit of a support issue.
Yeah, it's you have a year to deal with it. So, off the top of my head, there's a couple ways you could do it, right? You could say, oh, if Parse is unreachable, I'll set up this other instance in parallel and just jump to that instance.
Sure.
Then in every iteration, you get further and further from that until one day you just flip the switch to go all the way to the other instance. Mm-hmm. The problem, of course, is then you may have a data synchronization question regarding Parse and call it your own Parse, right?
I'm reading their guide right now. It doesn't seem like it's that
It's
awful.
not that terrible. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Dominic.
No. It's there is a wider conversation to be had about, like, you're building these mobile applications. Obviously, time is of the essence. You don't want to invest too much. You want a minimum viable product.
Mm-hmm.
So you might take one of these shortcuts and then get demolished.
Yeah, really. And now, I mean, it's thankfully in the case of Parse, they've given you an exit strategy that's manageable. This is sort of your best case scenario for this type of event.
Absolutely, and we are on the grub screen.
Oh, hey, well done, sir. You got it. Was it the link that in a go?
No, Rufus.
Rufus
so far
did it.
Rufus did it, unless
Good.
it's corrupt. But
Yeah.
So should we just tell them? I mean,
Yeah.
I have been in secret forging a master VMware VM of Ubuntu 14.03.
1404.
Was it 14.04?
I think so. Yeah. April.
I wasn't paying it. Yeah, it was whatever the most recent.
LTS. Right.
And today, on let's call it a whim, I decided that I'm just going to go ahead and install Ubuntu on a spare, one of those very cheap, very thin little Dell towers that has no graphics card.
Oh, good.
Straight up Intel inside. Should be a good time.
I wonder, is it the same for you like it is for me? Like, I'll try something in VMware or, whatever virtualization it is, and that just feels like a tease. Like, I'm like, I bet this would be even better if it was on physical hardware. Even if it's older physical hardware, I feel like it'd be better.
Well, I started, like, really, really getting down into, okay, I don't know a nice way to say this, but, like, I'm busy and I'm trying to use, like, 4 workstations at once.
Mm-hmm.
The little workstation feature. You know what I'm talking about.
The virtual desktops?
Yeah. Oh, and also, I did try Mate. How do you properly say that?
I think Mate is correct.
Yeah, okay, I keep saying Mate. And I tried GNOME 3 a couple months ago. GNOME 3 I thought was terrible. KDE is still terrible.
Yeah.
You guys haven't changed since 2006.
Oh, wow.
No offense.
So Unity, not so bad.
I went with Unity, though I did not. I thought they stopped the whole buy this on Amazon thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that's stopping soon. It's very easy to turn off now, but...
Yeah, I went with Unity only because, you know what? Yes, I was a previous Linux user. Yes, I admin Linux servers all the time on DO. But I just know I don't like the way it looks.
I think, actually, so you're going 15.10 now, and I think down the road in April, when 1604 comes out, I think it's going to be one of their better releases for a long time.
Right, and I'm not looking to be on the bleeding edge as the other side of this, right? So I may hold off.
You could, yeah. You could, and then when you're ready to go to their latest LTS, then you let a few months cook and see how things shake out.
But I really agonized over the desktop choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mate almost had it. It was surprisingly close.
Yeah, it's very familiar feeling. You almost immediately feel very productive because it's so familiarly laid out.
Yeah, and it just makes sense. But Unity was pretty.
Yeah, the thing for me is the nice thing about having the persistent side dock in any OS is when my hand is on the mouse, that is a nice way to task switch because I can see my running applications and I can click them. I generally use the keyboard, but when my hand is already on the mouse, I like it. And yeah, I actually think, especially if you're more familiar with Windows 10 and Mac OS, I think Unity is a great way to go. So
the good old Mac OS.
What the chat room wanted me to talk you into was doing a week challenge of the Ubuntu tablet when it ships in Q2, which is a convergence device. It's a 10-inch Ubuntu tablet.
I would totally try it, but I'm not going to buy it.
Ubuntu tablet versus iPad Pro. I'd be curious about.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Right, so this brings up my next point. What is the dominant Ubuntu development environment, right? That's a question.
Oh, well, I think it's in transition. I think they're, today it would be your typical GTK development environment, but I think tomorrow it's going to be Qt Creator and whatever maybe customizations they do to that. I don't know if they're going to call it. Yeah.
I'm seeing a ton about like Vala.
Oh, Vala I think has a lot of traction in like distros like Elementary and things like that. So it's happening a lot.
Vala looks very sexy to me. Maybe I'm just a weirdo.
No, they seem to love it. I've heard a lot of good things about Vala. It might be worth glancing at.
And have we considered Swift?
I haven't heard a lot of talk about Swift for Linux desktop apps recently.
You haven't heard a lot of talk yet.
No, yet. Yeah. That's probably a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So the installation is going to kick off. I'll be curious to hear. Maybe give us an update next week on how it went.
It's telling me I don't know my Wi-Fi password, so we'll just keep moving.
Good. Things are looking good already.
Things are looking good.
All right, Mr. Dominic. Well, coderradio.reddit.com is a place I like to mention. Why do I like to mention it? Because it's a place you can go out there, yes, you, to contribute to the show, adjust content, push it in your own direction, if you will. JBLive.tv is where we do it live. JupiterBroadcasting.com/contacts, how you contact us. All those things are great. Mr. Dominic, anywhere you want to send folks throughout the week?
Just at Dumanuco on Twitter.
I love it. Follow me on Twitter too, at ChrisLAS, and the network, at Jupiter Signal. Hey, I made it. I didn't keel over from food poisoning. I think the fever's back, but we made it through the whole show. All right, everybody.
You've been on a Mac. Of course you feel sick.
I have not.
Your connection established.
Thanks for tuning this week's episode of Coder Radio. See you back here next week.